Alright, my thumbnail was a troll. I'm gonna play Black Myth Wukong and I'm gonna love it. And you're probably gonna love it too. But there's one thing I absolutely can't stand. When this game dropped, or the reviews dropped, the only thing people are focusing on is that it didn't get 90 on Metacritic. I'm here to tell you, some of the best games of all time have been under 85 on Metacritic. And I'm gonna show you some examples today. I mean, so many of you people online sound like Indian parents when they see their kids' report cards for the first time. Got my report card this year, Dad. Think you're really gonna like it this time.
Are you stupid?
Hanji. Alright, first, let's look at some RPGs. 3 of my favorite RPGs of all time. And they never got 90 Metacritics, and people put thousands and thousands of hours into them. As you can see the score on the screen right now. The original Phantasy Star Online is one of the best games ever made. So what did the version 2 do? It added new weapons, new character classes, new areas, new game modes. Literally every single thing you want in an updated version of a game, you got it. And it only received 8s, which a lot of people these days thinks is not a good score, but it's everything you'd ever want in the update, and people spent thousands of hours into it. Incredible game. Then you have the Xenoblade games, and honestly, every single Xenoblade game is incredible. Very few games these days give you this much content right out of the box. The gameplay was great, the world was great, the story was awesome, and they gave you one of the best main characters in video game history in Rex, who, let's just say, this man got around. Then you got Xenoblade Chronicles X. People to this day are begging for a sequel to this game. I hope we do get a remake and a sequel eventually. But just look at the scale of this game with all the mechs and everything. This was on the Wii U. I'm shocked the Wii U didn't explode when you were playing this game. Now, let's look at some fighting games. Then you got one of my favorite genres, fighting games. Here are 4 iconic fighting games. You know, a bunch of these are some of the best of all time. Capcom vs. SNK 2, Ultimate Marvel 3, King of Fighters 13. And again, they don't have Metacritics in the 90s. Another game where people have been begging for a sequel for decades. Capcom vs. SNK 2, literally one of the greatest fighting games of all time. People have countless memories of this game, either playing it or going to tournaments or watching tournaments. Every single person loved this game growing up, and it's one of those games where it's an all-time great with a low 80 Metacritic. Then you got Project Justice. This is a big-time cult favorite game. There's so much love and care put into all the characters. The music is great. All these team-up specials that you're seeing right now were so fun to watch back in the day. People again have been begging for a remake for this game for ages, and who knows, we might get it one day, but this was great. Then you got games like King of Fighters, which are always fun, very technical. You expect them to get very high scores, but they never get into the 90s. Especially games like King of Fighters 13, which again is one of the single best fighting games of all time. Looks great, plays great. People are playing it again after it's been relaunched. And it just goes to show that, you know, a game could have a score in the high 70s and low 80s and still be one of the best of all time. Speaking of an all-time great, you have Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Literally took everything that made the base game great and made it better. New characters, new stages, new mechanics. Incredible game, still played to this day. Countless memories at the tournament stage. Great roster. Again, one of the best games of all time. Didn't get a 90 Metacritic. And just like Wukong, let's look at the action genre. And they're my favorite genre, action games. I love every single one of these games. And it just goes to show they might be some of the best of all time in their genre. But look, they don't have 90 Metacritics. Then you got Metal Gear Rising. And honestly, what can you say? This is just one of the best action games of all time. It was so ahead of its time. I guarantee if it got released today, it would get a score in the, you know, the 90s for sure. You know, you have an awesome character, you have a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, that just focuses on the gameplay and epic moments like this. And people have been begging for a sequel of this game, myself included. They just don't make games like this anymore. Just look at this boss fight. Yep, they don't make games like this anymore. Right, Ninja Gaiden 2 was a great action game. You're only seeing clips from, you know, Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma here. If you are going to play it again, I recommend you do play the original on the Xbox 360. The only reason I'm not showing clips of that is because that game had a lot more gore in it, and I don't think YouTube's going to like that. But it took everything that made the first game amazing action-wise and just dialed up the notch to 1,000,000. The combat is amazing. The weapons are amazing. Yes, the story's not as good, but I don't play Ninja Gaiden games for the stories. If you're ever going to play this game, I highly recommend it. It's one of the best action games ever made. And then you got Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, added new characters and some new mechanics. It was an incredible game when you just talk about gameplay wise. It felt amazing. And it's a big reason we have Devil May Cry 5, because Capcom actually asked the fans, do they like the DMC remake games more or Devil May Cry 4 style games more? And guess what the fans picked? This one. Another one of those games. It's one of the best feeling action games of all time, and it didn't get a 90 Metacritic. Then you have Vanquish, and I'll be honest, you just have to look at the gameplay. Please make a sequel. And there you have it, and that list was incredible. Some of those games are literally some of the best from their genre of all time. You can't beat that. Yeah, they didn't get a 90 Metacritic, but say it with me. A Metacritic above 75 is still a good game, and it might just be one of your favorite games of all time. I also think Black Myth Wukong is going to be an amazing game, even if it didn't get a 90. Stop focusing on the 90s.